Hey, I'm Cesar de la Cruz, co-host of the Tolleson-Mack podcast, here with Brandon Brown, and this episode is sponsored by Flint Farms. What do you know about Flint Farms, Brandon?
Man, we're getting in the busy season right now, and orders are coming in, hay's coming off the fields, and we're just moving it all around town. So look up Flint Farms and Chad Maddox. He'll get it taken care of.
We got one of my good buddies in the studio tonight, and Wheeler, I high school rodeoed with Wheeler. Wheeler Ericsson is in the house. And, man, he was a saddle bronc rider back in the day. And I tell people all the time, you're wanting to learn how to be a saddle bronc rider, you're going to get bucked off a little bit. It's a kind of a learning curve once you figure it out. Like, you'll be like the Wright boys. But I remember the first few horses he got on over at the high school rodeos. I mean, he'd get bucked off and stomped. And I'm like, geez, man, I don't know if I thought about being a roughie, you know what I mean? I thought I was a bull rider, and maybe not a bull rider. I'm going to try saddle bronc ride. No, saddle bronc ride, not just stick to rope. And these guys are tough, man.
Real tough.
And the Ericsson name are synonymous with toughness for sure. But talk to us a little bit about the start of our career right there, Wheeler, and we'll kind of go on to what we do now. But, yeah.
Man, I tell you what, it was good times. I remember I would go to them rodeos, them high school rodeos, and like I come off the ranch and like I'd show up over there and like, man, I didn't know anybody and like, man, I'd get thrapped out there. Like, dude, I remember the first one I went over there and I got my foot hung in the stirrup and that horse like kicked me in the face and then kicked me in the stomach, and like they took me to the hospital because I was blood was coming out of my lungs and stuff. I remember that. It was kind of embarrassing, but then like I kind of got used to it after that. You know what I mean? It kept happening a lot. So it's,
you figured out, okay, I need a spur, start moving your feet a little
try to stay on a little more, huh?
Well, yeah, and then, you rode pro level type bucking horse and stuff, but that learning curve right there was pretty tough for
oh, man, especially for somebody that's 6 foot tall, it's not, I mean, they will whip you down, but you know what? I'm glad that I went and did that. It was it's good times, and I got to meet a lot of people.
Yeah.
When you said you came off the ranch, so is that something that you were breaking horses, doing it day to day, and it kind of came natural?
Well, yeah, like when I was a kid, I was 10 years old. I bet my dad he raised horses and had ranches and stuff like that, and when I was 10, my dad's like, oh well, I'm going to give you this horse, like, all right, Dad, well, but you got to start him. You're going to ride this some bitch. And like, so I started him and like, dude, I remember the first ride in the corral, little corral, it was good. And this ain't too bad, and I was scared to death. And then the next day, my dad's like, all right, well, make him follow me. And he takes off, and that horse freaking bucked my ass off right there in the middle of the driveway. And I started crying, I was like 9 or 10, it hit hard. And like my dad, he comes up, God damn it! If you're not gonna get it back, I'm like, I got a horse. I'm gonna come down. And like I was more scared of my dad than anything in the world, And like so, I kind of got over my fear of horses at a very young age, because like if I didn't, my dad, he's scary and shit. You know what I mean? Like he is scary. So yeah, but yeah, that's probably where it started out. I mean, my dad, he could ride broncs. He was a bronc rider, and he damn sure made sure that I got on enough of them as a kid, that I wasn't scared of them. So
that first one, you like I said, it was continuous there. So you got kicked and you kind of got stomped right there, and then the next rodeo you kind of got healed up from that, and then the next rodeo. Let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and then the next rodeo I show up and like I get bucked off about 20 feet in the air, and I land on my feet out there, and it snaps my femur off.
Oh my goodness.
And like I remember, I'm like, man, I think my hip or something's out. You know what I mean? Like my legs like come up here by my shoulder and shit, my foot. I was like, I don't know, I can't figure that. Anyway, they put a plate in my leg. Anyway, yeah, it was rough learning to ride broncs.
Okay,
but it damn sure.
What bronc was it? When you kind of halfway figured it out, like, okay, I'm moving my feet, like I kind of there's a timing there, right there. When you're out of timing, it's awful, right? Like,
oh yeah,
you get timing, there's a little bit like,
well, there is a but I don't think a person could figure it out, and the next one you don't have it figured out. You know what I mean?
It's like my healing. I know exactly.
It's just like healing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like healing. You think, oh man, I'm gonna really kick their ass. You know what I mean? And then like next day you can't even hit one. Then you're like, yeah, bro.
I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like you went to ride some pro level type bucking horses. Now that right there from the high school level to the pro level, it's a step up for sure. Right?
Well, yeah, when I moved over to my dad's about my junior year, and my dad he bought me a bunch of Mustangs from the Apache reservation, like brood mares, 8-9-year-old brood mares that they had trapped or something, and so he bought me like 6 of them and brought them down there, and we bucked them out. We were riding a bunch of horses all the time, and outside colts. Anyway, my dad's like, well, goddamn, I got you these bucking horses. Don't be bucking them colts out. You know what I mean? Like, because I'd start all them horses, but my dad was good about it. So and them horses, they blew up and bucked, and they were the right kind to learn on, So like, I'm very thankful for that, that my dad took the time and the money to do that,
Yeah.
But
After the first couple high school rodeos, he's probably thinking, "Man, I got to get this kid to figure.
I got to teach him something.
He's got to get more. He's got to get more shots underneath his belt."
Yeah, he's embarrassing me.
I bet the medical bills were stacking up.
Yeah.
It's like, I got to get this kid where he's not getting his ass kicked no more, staying on a couple.
Yeah, but he was damn sure a good teacher. Yeah.
Let's talk about your old man a little bit. I known him as Mr. Ericsson. You know what I mean? That's it. He was like John Wayne, man. Like when he said something, you listen, and like you try not to get your ass chewed out, because if you're doing something wrong, you're probably allowed to get your ass chewed out. And I was just a friend, and I knew that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So let's talk about your old man a little bit.
So my dad Dave, I'll tell you what, hands down, out of all the cowboys that I've seen it up till this day, he was the best out of all of them. I mean, as far as like being a cowboy, you know what I mean? As far as like he can do anything, you know what I mean? He could rope. I mean, he could ride broncs. He was just a straight up cowboy, you know what I mean? Never made another dollar in his life that wasn't off a cow or a horse, you know what I mean? And like was the best. I mean, I've been around a lot of cowboys in the world, you know what I mean? Like some people might be, excelling this or that or whatever, but
all around,
dude, he was a cowboy. I mean, like you send him a bunch of horses to get started, he'd get them started. Dude. I mean, like he was my dad, he was damn sure. He was the man, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, not just because he's my dad, but like, all bullshit aside, you compare him to other people. Shit, he was the man, you know what I mean?
He helped clear a lot of the land out from like the wild mavericks. He got in the 1950s, right? I was talking to your brother Travis a little bit about this.
Yeah, and like he, growing up, my dad, because I was born kind of late, so he was when I started coming around cowboy and stuff, 10, 11, hell, he was already 55 years old, and like, but dude, he was a wise cowboy, you know what I mean? And like, he was damn sure had something to teach somebody, you know what I mean? If somebody wanted to learn how to be a cowpuncher, you could hang out with that guy and he would damn sure teach you. Yeah. You know what I mean? He was,
I could have used him.
I'll tell you what, he was a damn sure and a good guy, you know what I mean? He was yeah.
Where did you, where was your ranch? Where was your childhood mostly?
So we grew up in Wickiup. Me and my brother Travis. My mom lived there, but my dad, he moved a lot. Like when I was real little, he had a place. He run a place in Nevada for a long time, and then but later on, like when we got 14, 15, about when I met Cesar in high school and stuff, we lived in between Globe and Superior, at top of the world.
Oh yeah. Okay.
In that rough ass country.
I was gonna say between Wickiup and there, it'll make you a man,
Yeah. So like Globe and Superior, right there. That's where pretty much my dad, he got a contract over there gathering all them cattle off that deal because they was just out of control. So anyway, he got that deal, and me and Dad, we camped out. So when I was in high school, my junior year, senior year. me and my dad were camped out there at the top of the world right there, and I had a teepee, and he was getting older. Hell, he was 60 something by then. You know what I mean? And he he had taken his bed out of his house and had taken it up there top of the world. He had a wall tent with a wood stove in it, and he stuck his king size bed in there and stayed in there. You know what I mean? And I stayed over in the teepee. You know what I mean? And like we worked every day, went and caught cattle.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then it seemed like when I'd go to the Husker rodeos and stuff, man, I just wanted to party, you know what I mean? Like, dude, I was like stuck out there at the ranch all the time, you know what I mean? Catching cows. I was like, man, this sucks. But like, I get to looking back, I'm very thankful for it, because working with my dad was there's a lot of people that wish they could have,
for sure,
but never got the chance to, you know what I mean? And like, dude, that guy was bar none the best wild cow catching cowboy in the world, you know what I mean? So yeah,
he's legendary around these parts. Like we talked about Derek Begay and a handful of these guys, Ty Romos and the Ben boys and a handful of them guys that live in that little area right there. They all learned how to do that stuff from Mr. Dave, because he was the best. He learned, taking 2 or 3 cows down off of the mountain at a time. I've heard stories about that. Not just taking one off of the mountain, just having 2 or 3 you're leading off the hill. That was something pretty cool. And then he taught them guys how to do that. And they talk about how, and I remember going catching cows with Derek and stuff. You can't lead a 1,500-pound bull anywhere. Like, it's his idea. When he goes forward, you go with him. When he stops, you stop. You know what I mean? Or else you're going to wear your horse out and him out, and then you're going to have to tie him back up and let him cool off. And he said, just let him. When he stops, you stop. When he goes, you go. Try to get him that area. We got to go over there to that,
just somewhere
that vicinity.
For the people that are not understand what Cesar just said, just imagine that you're 10 miles off up a hill or what, I don't know, and you got 3 of them on there, and like you said, when they go, you go. You're not even in control at that point.
You're like 30 miles
or 30 miles. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's
people don't even understand. I came across it. I knew you were coming on today. I came across a video. It was like 13 years old. It was you and your brother, and you guys were catching them. Man, that was amazing. Like watching that. People need. Well, I forgot the name of it. People need to watch that. That was.
We'll get Craig on there to kind of get a clip of what's going on. But like to do with this kind of stuff, I was infatuated with cowboys when I was a kid because I grew up in the city, gangs and stuff like that. And I got to hang out with Wheeler, Tom McFarland, Coulter Todd, all these guys. This is what they did. They're cowboys, man. They do this every single day. They get up in the morning. We're gonna move cows. We're gonna break a horse. We're gonna do something. We're cowboy stuff.
Yeah.
And so anytime I got to hang out with these guys and just Wheeler, we partied. We had a good time. That was a long time ago, but there were a lot of coolers full of beer at the junior rodeos in the evening times. And we'd sneak around there and take a couple out of every camp. And next thing you know, we had, about 12 of them over there. And we'd meet, we'd sometimes behind the chutes, different places, and we'd crack them open. And
that's cool.
But I would love the stories that this guy would talk about, man. It's some of the best stories ever.
Yeah.
And like, man, I just wanted to be out there. And so every time I had a break from school, man, I would go to Coulter's house or do some cowboy shit. But yeah, Wheeler would tell some crazy stories, man. Like I said, you go to the high school rodeos and watch him get bucked off, and then he comes back ready for more. I'm like, this guy,
real
he's
deal.
For real. This is real cowboy deal.
I mean, just sleeping out there on a tent. People wouldn't even attempt to do that kind of stuff down. That takes a whole different person and dedication and go when he goes. I mean, just that's tedious work. It's.
But you know what is I look back on it, and it's some of the best times of my life were in those cow camps and stuff. And like people say, why you're way out in the middle of nowhere, like with a horse, and you're stuck out there. And well, you know what? That's the best part about it.
Yeah, for
sure. You know what I mean? You don't have to deal with nobody. You just go out there and go to work every day, go catch cattle, and you know what I mean. Take care of your animals and like just take care of everything. You know what I mean? And just work. Yeah.
I tell people all the time, man, I wish when I could just go back and get on a tractor for 12 hours a day and just drive that tractor like I used to, and my phone rang about 1/10 of the time. You know what I mean? Like, I would give anything to go back to that. That was the fun part of it, actually working. But I could imagine. So you're out there, it's you, your tent, your horse. Do you just tie your horse up to a tree, or do you shackle them, or
Well, a lot of times we wouldn't even have a corral, so like
yeah,
we'd hobble our horses out,
hobble? I'm sorry,
hobble them out, and then grain them and just
hope they stay.
yeah, and like usually we try to camp next to a creek somewhere, but yeah, we keep them hobbled out, and then.
Have you ever had an experience where the horse got spooked and you were on foot at that point?
Oh man, yeah, yeah, oh yeah. I've had some terrible experiences out there. I mean, yeah, yeah.
Well, we got time. We got
Yeah.
time. Let's hear one of these experiences, like kind of like.
So yeah, one time, I don't know if you guys know Jesse Sheffield, but he had a brother named Joe Ben, right? Joe Ben was my buddy anyway. So we go out there. We're gonna go catch some cows, and like we go way off down there. I mean, we're at top of the world. We ride way off down there looking for cattle, and we get down there, and man, it's like, taking us like 8 hours to get down there off this mountain, So we're like, yeah, there's water down here, and like it's kind of green little area. So we're like, yeah, let's just hobble our horses here, So like we're tired, dude. So I fall asleep over there. He falls asleep. Well, our horses. We woke up in the morning, and our horses climbed all the way up the mountain with hobbles on, and then it was like. I mean, dude, it had gone like 5 miles away, you know what I mean? And like, we're just like stuck down there with our saddles and no water and shit. And we're like, dude, we almost died down there, you know what I mean? I was like, dude, just something simple like that, like almost killed us, you know what I mean? And like, Jobin was just like, I think that was the last time he really wanted to go cowboying with me.
So you walked out?
Till we walked out, then had to go get our horses. Finally found them, and like they were like headed back. Had to take them all the way back down the mountain, saddle them up, and then like, dude, we couldn't get them off the mountain. You know what I mean? They didn't want to lead back down there, and like, dude, it was Jobin. He had a meltdown. I remember that. It was just like
a mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Oh, I would have died.
I mean, he was from.
I would have lit the
Chandler.
fire. And I would
Brandon.
saved me. I would have died.
Yeah, he had long hair and shit. He was just like down there. He's like, he couldn't believe that our horses had gone 5 miles away. You know what I mean? I was like, man, we should have tied them up, maybe.
Yeah. They're headed back to the ranch. Dude.
But yeah, I mean, we've had some hell.
What about so when they do catch one and it's a big bull that's gonna fight a little bit, they're gonna tie him to a tree, and you might spend a night, camp out a little bit, and then you're gonna let him kind of wear himself out, and then the next day, maybe the day after, you're gonna go get him.
Exactly.
And lead him down off the hill.
And it makes it a lot easier if you do get him tied to a tree. You know what I mean? I mean, you can take them off the ground, just like rope them, take them. But man, it just, if they learn how to give into that rope tied up to a tree overnight, it makes all the difference in the world, So that's why a person wants to tie them up to a tree.
So they'll be pulled tight, and then they'll finally figure out to ease up on
Exactly.
it. I got you.
Yeah. So it's just like a horse, and when you take a horse and you're trying to halter break him and you tie him up, and like,
I got you.
Once they learn to give into it, then shit, you got them halter broke then, you know what I mean?
But then you might have to camp out there for a day.
Yeah, I mean, like your person has like, usually 2 days. You're gonna have to go back and go get them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like 3 days at most, but like by then you don't want to leave them that. You know what I mean? If a person can go back the next day, you're gonna be way better off because like they're not gonna be dehydrated.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah, I would think that.
So like I remember, shit. My dad, we catch some cattle and way off down there, and I mean it was like 15 miles before we get into the cattle, and we'd catch cows and tie them up. You know what I mean? We'd have 5, 6, 8 head. I don't know. And then we'd have to go back in there and go lead them out. Well, leading cattle 15 miles, that's going to take you a couple of days. You're going to have to lead them all day, tie them up, come back, lead them all day again. You know what I mean? So it's like, you got to take care of them. You can't be pulling on them. And you know what I mean? It's really an art. I remember when I was a kid, I remember my dad, all right, he'd get them started for me, get them kind of leading, take them like a mile. And all right, Wheeler, come get them. And then, I'd get way out in front of everybody, and they'd go get more cows. Well, like I'd be sitting there, I think, for hours waiting for somebody to come up and spook.
Mm-hmm.
Well, like, shit, when you're a kid, I remember like, I'm just going to drag this so much a little bit. The next thing you know, fucking every one of them would be dead. So, like, my dad would fucking be upset, you know what I mean? Like,
he knew.
So you learn not to kill them because dad might kill you.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't pull on them, and that was one of the things. And then, like, my dad, he was a he was a good teacher. You know, he had a lot of patience.
I talked to Travie one time, man, and I had a horse. I went to show him one time that I says, man, you got to be a little aggressive with this thing. He was bad in the box, and I says, you got to kind of get after him, smack him in the butt a little bit, and make him, get his butt, want to kick his butt out. And there was a point where Travis told me, man, the people I'm going to sell him to, they're not going to be able to be cowboy enough to ride him like that, anyways. He kind of told me I nothing I could do with him, but he told me my dad wouldn't let me get after a horse. He said your dad was real cowboy, real hard, tough as nails, kind of a cowboy.
Smart.
Very smart, but kind to his horses and like wild cow trying to kill you. I mean, he was kind to a cow. Like he says, leading them off the hill, keeping them cool, not getting them too hot and little things like that, because that's how he made his living with the cows.
Like you couldn't make a living if you go out there and catch all these cattle out there. I mean, like we camped out there and like we lived out there in them camps and like, dude, if you went out there and you caught a bunch of cattle and like, all right, so you're like sitting there thinking, oh yeah, well I got this and this caught, we're gonna get them in. You kill half of them so much, dude. You're like, dude, my dad might kill you. My dad might kill you. You know what I mean? Like,
he's mad at you.
I mean, like he was a tough man. You know what I mean? And like he didn't, so like he damn sure learned how not to kill him.
Yeah.
Lead them down, and they're wild. Never seen people before. Like they are mavericks, and like Big A's told me a couple stories about them. The mavericks, they get so wild and so mean that they'll chase people. Though hunters will be out there in their jeeps, and they'll step out of their jeep and be looking for them.
Oh yeah, I remember one time, Rio Verde, like that's how we kind of got over in that country. Is Travis? We were catching cattle for the Forest Service over there, and Travis goes, "Hey, we were living in Queen Creek," so he sends me up there, and he goes, "Just go up there. There's a bunch of cattle out there. Just go catch whatever you can. Tie them up, and we'll go get them tomorrow." So like I go up there, I tied this big bull up that I caught to a tree, and the next day we go out there and like this guy comes running down the hill with no shirt on and shit, and like, and there's like, there's a cow tied up there. I got caught in a rope up to the tree up there, and I was like, huh? He goes, yeah. I tried to undo him, and he tore my shirt off. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, cool, man. Like, so anyway, we go up there and like, dude, his shirt's laying on the rocks and shit over there. Anyway, but. Yeah,
they're mean.
Yeah,
they're guy, like almost Mexican fight bull type mean. Like
dude, they're wild.
They're red and white face. Sometimes they're black, but like gosh dang, they're mean things, man.
Yeah.
So one time the Department of Ag called me and they needed a trailer because they caught a bunch of wild horses over there on the Salt River. So I show up and they have these green panels and there's about 30 of them just going 100 miles an hour in a circle, just hauling ass. And I'm like, I'm going to back up here and load these things. So they closed the park while this was going on, so no one in there. And we're talking like this was probably like 15 miles deep in there. So we finally get them loaded and we're driving out. And there's two old Chinese ladies with video cameras videotaping us the whole time to see if we were, mean to them or whatever. Them old ladies hiked their asses all the way in there to see if we were going to be mean to them Mustangs.
Yeah.
There's
crazy probably, you know what I mean? Who knows? They're probably going to make some soup out of them.
Yeah, something.
You never know. You know what I mean?
When I show up and I'm the most cowboy out of everybody there, this, is Game and Fish and all these people there with uniforms on, and I'm like, oh my God, this is going to be a wreck.
A wild Mustang and a wild Maverick bull, man.
Yeah.
Even a cow, they're mean, man.
Sorry.
You don't want, you can't.
No.
They're not for the average.
I stay in the truck.
Yeah.
I ain't getting out.
For sure. Like you talked about having contracts for some of these spots. That's what you do for a living now, right? You kind of got a contract for the what reservation you?
Well, actually, right now I help some people over there, but like I made friends with some of the natives, and so like lifelong friends, you know what I mean? Just growing up around them and stuff, and so like I help some of them, you know what I mean? I help them, but I pretty much we punch cows a lot, you know what I mean? But like pretty much, what the greatest thing about it is I look back 20 years ago when we first started coming out there to the res and stuff, and I remember if we were going to catch anything, we were going to have to run and rope it, you know what I mean? Like we run and roped everything, and like because the cattle were wild. And looking at them now, we go out there and we drive them cattle in like a bunch of cow punchers, and like, you know what I mean? And like it's just great to see that it's changed, you know what I mean? That things ain't like it used to be, you know what I mean? Like for how it was forever, just wild cattle everywhere. Like, Kyle Romo and their family, like their cattle are gentle, and like we drive them in there and work them like cow punchers. You know what I mean? And like it's just every time I go out there and we drive a bunch of cattle in, I tell Kyle, I go, man, that just makes me so happy to see that. You know what I mean? Like that's great. You know what I mean? Because there's, you know, they do it like cow punchers, and like it's great. You know what I mean?
What so the dogs, I know, did you have much dogs? Jeff had dogs when you were a kid?
Oh yeah, we had a lot of dogs. Yeah,
What kind of what kind of dogs?
most of them were just Catahoulas and, you know, some blackmouth cur crosses.
Something to stop them, right?
Yeah, damn sure stop them. And then, you know, my dad he would have them handle pretty good to where, you know, a lot of them wild cattle that are actually like hadn't been run and shit. I remember my dad, and you could call them dogs back and get to where you could drive them cattle in. You know what I mean? And when the cattle go running off, he'd stick them dogs on them, and then, you know, them cattle hold up, you know, and then he'd call them off, and then we'd drive them a little ways, and then they'd start to run and boom, stick them. And like pretty quick, you're handling them, and you could drive, you know, a lot of them cattle, if they hadn't been run and missed, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
well, you think about it, you can only lead a couple down off the hill. So if you can gather a few and use them dogs, and kind of, you can run 20 down off the hill.
Yeah.
A lot better, more safe, less cowboys. You know, like I know Derek, he's gotten a lot more dogs than he used to now. He's getting a little more wiser. But when we first got out there, we didn't have any dogs and stuff.
A person needs them, you know. A person damn sure needs them, especially in Arizona. I mean, anywhere it's brush or rocks, like anywhere you're gonna have cattle that can get away from you. I mean, not so much in the flats, you know what I mean?
They're smart out there, right? They know their country.
Dude, they've lived there, you know what I mean? And like they know their country, and like them cattle are, you know, they're not just out there just messing around. Like they're running for their lives. You know what I mean? Because like they don't know any better. There's somebody after, or you know what I mean? And like they've just been wild their whole life. So, you know, but yeah, the dogs, they're the most important thing in the world. You know what I mean? They're worth their weight in gold.
Yeah.
When you're out there, you know, in the middle of the forest or deserts or wherever you're at, tell us something crazy that you've seen. Have you seen some big animals or UFO, or I mean,
what about a Sam Squatch, Bigfoot?
Dude, I'll tell you what, I've seen some crazy things. I was thinking about that today. You know, one time I remember me and Travis, we had a couple bulls tied up way off down there by the Ray Mine in Kearney, you know, and we had this guy that wanted to go cowboying with us. On the weekends, he was a miner. They're from Globe anyway, so he had his own horse. And so anyway, Travis was leading this bull out in front of us, and I was spooking for him, and this guy was in between us or something. Anyway, we were going up this cliff on the switchback, and Travis had the bull up there on the switchback above us, you know, and I remember this guy's horse didn't get around real well, so it kind of like rolled over in front of him, or in front of me, and kind of got hung off a mesquite limb, or a mesquite tree hanging off the cliff, and it was like hanging off this cliff, and it was like 100-foot cliff, you know. And I was like, holy shit! So I go, Travis, hey, dude, throw your rope down, you know, dude, I need some help. So he throws the rope down. It's like 30 foot, and it's like he's at the very end of his rope. So we try to pull the horse back up, and I'm like, holy shit, you know what I mean? It's not gonna pull up.
Yeah.
And like the horse starts slipping off the mesquite tree, you know. So he's like, you better do something. I'm about to lose my dollies. I was like, all right, dude. So I didn't know what to do. You know what I mean? Like, so I took my rope off my saddle, and I threw it over his neck, and I just tied it off the tree, and it went boom. And dude, it just hung that horse down there. You know what I mean? But it was probably better than like it landing all the way down at the bottom. You know what I mean? I'm
telling you, dude, like
dude,
it's wild over there. Like Bagate took me on some spots. Like if your horse slipped, you were gonna go down. Like it's hairy country up there, and it's like old school. Like I mean, little deer trails, not even cow trails, they're little deer trails. So yeah.
Are these contracts you're talking about? Is it for like the family that owns the cows and you bring them, or how does that work?
Well, it just depends. Like my dad, when we were growing up, like he worked for the San Carlos reservation a lot, you know, and actually like so he split the cattle whatever we caught with him, you know what I mean? And then so we'd get you know, everything, you know, it just made it that much more important that we made them in alive, you know.
For sure. So it was for financial gains, but also was it to like manage the wild ones out there, kind of?
Well, yeah, like you know, on them reservations like this, Apaches and like the Papagos, like them cattle, they're just free. You know what I mean? And there's lots and lots of them. You know what I mean? And like, so they have to manage it somehow. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's like elk. They have to have so many tags.
Like right, still have pygmies and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like, dude, if they want to make any money off the cattle, when they're that wild, you're gonna have to get somebody in there to catch them. You know what I mean? Because you can't drive these. I mean, they're wild like deer. You know, so. But yeah, so he would make them contracts with the Indians and then work with them. You know, but.
Where in Arizona or where have you been that you've seen like the biggest elk or bear? I mean, being out there, you've probably seen a lot of wildlife. Are you a hunter?
No, you know what?
I'm a gatherer too, so it's all good.
Yeah,
some are hunters and some are gatherers.
Like hunting horseback, I guess, with a rope.
Yeah,
there you go.
One of the best hunters I know with a rope.
Yeah,
dude.
But yeah, I mean, it's kind of like hunting. You know what I mean? There really ain't no difference besides trying to keep them alive. You know?
Yeah,
but yeah. It's
you've probably seen some monster elk and monster deers and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I remember being up at San Carlos and man, them elk would come through there and there'd be 70 of them. I mean, just like big old piles of them running through there. You know what I mean? But I never really got much into hunting. You know, I just cattle.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're out there for a couple weeks, you ever I mean, had a butcher a steer, one of them heifers to kind of stay.
Oh yeah. Like so, you know, I remember when we were kids, like when my dad would start the works or whatever, you know, whatever he would just find a nice big beef calf and he'd go out there, shoot him, and we'd hang it. And like, you know, in the fall, it was still cool enough, you know, where a person could hang it out at night. And then in the daytime, we covered up with tarps. And that makes that meat really not good, you know what I mean? So it kind of cures it. And like, that's what we eat off of, you know what I mean? You
just go cut your own steak off of that?
Yeah.
Just however big you want, however hungry you want it.
Exactly. And that's how you know what I mean? There was no freezer, nothing. We'd just be camped out there and like we'd hang that beef at night and then 4 o'clock in the morning, we'd wake up, covered up, train the horses, get saddled up. You know what I mean? That was life. And like, but good life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Last of a dying breed, I think.
For sure.
Brandon. Like, I don't think we see that or hear that kind of stuff. Like, I know, you know, Derek Begay and Coulter Todd did really good last year at the NFR. They're going to do it again. I think they're going to have a good chance at it again. But there's not very many real cowboys that do this every single day, day in and day out, that are out there rodeoing like it used to be. They seemed like you're talking about your dad rodeoed quite a bit. And
yeah.
There's a lot of cowboys that were, like you said, that could rope and ride broncs. Like, they were real cowboys back then.
Yeah.
And I see guys that just team rope. Like Mikey Fletcher talked about it.
I'm a team roper.
He's not a cowboy. He's a team roper, he says. You know what I mean? But, like, you see a lot of that now. And, like, man, I think the reason why Derek and Coulter are so successful is because they've been outside and, like, you have to catch this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got to have that instinct in you, I think, if you're going to be a real successful roper now.
They got kind of both worlds kind of mastered, you know, in a sense. You know what I mean? They're high level on the outside the arena and inside, you know.
Yeah,
and
like,
that's rare.
Know, they're cowboys first.
Yeah.
And then team ropers second. Yeah.
Right.
Because,
And that
like, that's kind of like part of, I mean, that's where they come from. You know what I mean? They come from cowboys. So, like, you know, then people, you know, like they're, Coulter, all of them, dude. I mean, they're cowboys first. And then, you know, they're going to be team ropers second.
Yeah, I love going to Wilcox Junior rodeos, man. It's just like going to big old branding over there. You see some really awesome cowboys that come in, and their kids are little wild ass little cowboys that you're talking about. I mean, they're little bitty guys, and 10 years old, 9 years old, and they look at them. They started their own horse, and they're taking to the junior rodeo.
Exactly, and
like still see some of that around there. And I'm like, man, I got to surround my kids with that kind of stuff.
It's you know,
the last of dying breed, and
some of the best people you ever meet.
Right.
You know,
do anything for you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
We're gonna take a break and get a little water and maybe get another Rat Bastard.
Shout out Rat Bastard.
Shout out to Rat Bastard.
I mean, I've been baling hay every night, and I've been craving them Rat Bastards. They've been keeping me up and keeping me going. So
it's that good energy, though, Brandon. You know, they got that. I don't even know if there's different caffeine.
It has got alcohol in it?
All natural. Well, you can put it in there. And it's called a dirty bastard when you put a little whiskey in it.
And that's the kind we like.
Get you going, dude. You know what I'm saying? To really get you going.
Yeah.
What I like about them is that, you know, I can drink them. We start about 9 o'clock, and about 2 o'clock we head to the house, and I go sleep on them. You know what I mean? That's what helps.
Are they sponsored?
They're fixing to be. Huh?
They help our
Hell yeah.
podcast. So we've been kind of their new company as well. And we're rodeoing. I had my deal when I drive all night was a Red Bull and a 5-hour energy, and man, I was shaking. You know what I mean?
I'll tell you what, I
In
don't
the middle of the night, and then you can't sleep, dude. Like these things are awesome, man. It gives you that good energy, and they got vitamins and all kinds of
Take
stuff.
a nap.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Oh, good stuff. We'll give you some.
I wouldn't even have to eat much after you drink that.
Man, I'm telling you what, it's awesome. We need to take some to the camp up there.
Yeah,
But we'll be back in just a bit. We are here with part 2 with the Tolleson-Mack podcast and Wheeler Ericsson. Who's this? The second segment sponsored by?
Man, shout out to Hauser Built Retriever Trucks up at Camp Verde, Arizona.
I love to see them things work.
Yeah, me too. They're working. We're making money, but yeah, all kidding aside, they're the best in the business. And if you don't know, now you know.
Thank you for all that you do out there.
Yes, sir. HauserBuilt.com.
So Wheels, we talked about going out there and cowboying. And you mentioned that you live pretty close to the Rio Verde River, right? And a lot of people that when you go cowboying, you go pick up your fishing rod and you make your way to the river, ride your horse in the middle of the river and fish. How cool is that?
I mean that's the good times. Like I try to often. Yeah.
About every day, right? You got at least one fish a day, probably.
Yeah.
So what kind of fish you catching out there?
Bass, catfish. Yeah.
So you go out there. You said you try to catch one or eat one every day or whatever. So you go out there, you'll hook them, you'll take them over, light up your fire, and you'll give us a process. How you clean it? What do you?
Yeah, it's, stick them in the freezer or whatever.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
I mean, you don't cook them right then when you.
No. I'll take them back. Yeah,
okay.
Or just throw them back if they're too little.
See over here, I thought you were a caveman. He takes them back.
He's kind of caveman. I just
kind of. Almost.
Yeah.
But when you're out there, on a 2 or 3 day, do you kill some kind of an animal to eat or if?
Oh yeah, I mean, if we're out there like working on, we damn sure kill a calf or whatever we got to do. You know what I mean? Like, but it was especially when it's cold. And
yeah. Do you put that in consideration when you're packing your bag, like your saddle bag? Do you think like we'll kill something in a couple of days, or is that come across your mind?
Oh yeah, like a person saves a lot of money doing that. You know? I mean, the way meat is right now,
absolutely.
If a person has cattle out there, there's no reason not to. And if it's not summertime or whatever, a guy can damn sure do that. And keep the meat good.
It's seasonal right there, catching cows, right? Too, right? The winter time's pretty good. It's hard too in the summertime, right?
It is, unless you're, somewhere higher elevations, but it's kind of, you don't want to really do it in the summer, I mean, I have, but it's just
hard on livestock for sure, right?
Yeah, and it's hard on the dogs, and it's hard on everybody. Yeah.
Do you travel like to go to different places? Like,
yeah, I mean, we've traveled all over the place. I mean, we went to New Mexico. We went all over Arizona. I mean, yeah.
What's your favorite place in Arizona to cowboy? Like, where's the best, most cows, or like, where's the,
probably if you're gonna go catch wild cattle, definitely the reservations are those are the places that are really
Globe. Like talked about those kind of
like San Carlos, White Mountains. They have wild cattle, and they'll always have wild cattle. You know what I mean? That place is just overstocked with, and the government can't regulate it. You know what I mean? So like, the natives there, they're just they pretty much, those are their cattle, and like they're wild, but that's just because they really haven't ever how do I say this done it any other way. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I look at some of these ranches and I drive through all the country, and I see like, some of these places where, rolling hills and they got rocky, different country. But then you get to somewhere like they have them, I don't know the name of them, little cactuses, them little fucker things. You know what I mean? Like, you got to ride through that shit on top of every element, and you still got to watch out for them fucking things. Like, like it's tough out there. It ain't for no pussies. Like,
no.
Like
tapaderos, you need your leggings, you need your shotguns, you know what I mean? You need
people don't get it, you know what I mean? Like you guys are a small percentage of this world nowadays, but I mean, one of the badass hardest. Like, you know, I put you guys up there with. I mean,
Yeah, I remember, man. It was like some of that country over there. Like, I remember, how bad do you want to catch one? You know?
Yeah.
If you want to catch one really bad, you're gonna have to run through that shit. I
Yeah,
mean, at a high
man.
ready speed. But you know,
That's-
at that point, your adrenaline's going so much.
You need
You
the
don't
money.
even feel it.
You
You
need
know what I
the
mean? You
money.
might come out covered with choya
Yeah.
and shit in your eyes and your horse's face and everything, but at least you got a cow and like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like, you don't feel it till
Yeah,
later.
no,
You
That's
know?
$1,000 right
Yeah,
there. That's
I get it.
$1,200
Yeah,
just running
I
through
get
it. You
it.
want the money, you got to go get it.
I know.
Exactly. I mean, there's no easy way. It's like there's no easy way, no shortcut. You know?
absolutely.
Man, that's some of my funnest times. Like we were talking, I talked to Begay in Vegas, and they're, you know, they want to know some of my fondest memories with roping Begay. But I'm like, man, going and catching cows that day with you, the couple days, probably the funnest time I ever had with him, and just seeing him kind of in his natural habitat, I call it.
Yeah.
Because, man, he didn't want to leave in the winter times. Like the biggest rodeos in the world are in Texas in the wintertime. You know what I mean?
He wanted to go cowboy.
He wanted cowboy. And then as soon as it got hot over here, he's all in rodeoing because there's nothing. He ain't catching cows like there. You don't even want to be out here in Arizona in the summertime. So let's go rodeo.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I mean, it's you know, catching wild cattle, you'll never find a more of adrenaline rush. I mean, I rode broncs, you know what I mean? I've never skydived, but I have caught a lot of wild cattle, and I tell you what, it's the most addictive thing a guy could ever experience. You know, it's very addictive, yeah, because it's fun. You know,
Like I said, I watched that deal today, and man, I just got a whole new perspective of how you guys do that in your work. And like you said, the cliffs, and you know, you got to go down this one and up 3 more, and then down 4 more, and hope the truck's over there. You know, like, geez, you might be a little off. Like, it's tough. Like,
you know, and like there's a lot of people that, you know, that go out and try to do it, or you have, you know what I mean, and like they end up with no horses, and
yeah,
you know what I mean,
Yeah.
their horses crippled and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, because they kind of missed the boat, you know what I mean. They didn't. I mean, anybody can go. Well, I'm a number 8 team roper, you know what I mean. Go out there and think they might catch a couple, but I guarantee you, like a week or two, like them bitches are gonna have to go out there and catch them afoot because their horses gonna be crippled. You know what I mean? All their you know what I mean, like.
that's why I talked about his dad. Like,
Yeah.
knew how to take care of them suckers. Like, I know they're mean and they're
Yeah, I
wanting
mean,
to kill
there's
you.
a lot
but-
to it.
but
Like,
there's
we'd boot them. We'd
Yeah.
boot them up. We'd go through cases of duct tape and pant legs. You know what I mean? We'd boot them up every morning, and all the horses, you know what I mean? And then, you know, you didn't run them downhill. You know what I mean? There's just a lot of things, you know what I mean? Like,
Well, Wheeler, dude, thank you for spending time with us. This is kind of something special. This, when it comes to cowboy in Arizona, it's close to my heart. You know, 'cause like I said, I grew up in the city, and you know, envied you a little bit when I got to go to the high school rodeos and stuff. And like, man, this guy really lives it. He's a real cowboy.
yeah.
And so he's been a friend then, and a great friend now. Thank you so much, Wheeler, for coming and spending time.
thanks for having me out here, you guys. I appreciate it.
You know, when one of these days when maybe there's a chance when it's not too much of a cowboy day or something, I'd love to be like that guy that tagged along with you, and
You'd come out anytime.
you know,
That'd be awesome.
you know,
Fish in the river, dude.
Yeah, I
That's
would.
what you need to do.
If there's ever a way I could go and do the one night cowboy experience, you know, let me know.
Yeah. Hey, I'll get your number. Just
Yeah,
come out. Yeah.
I'll bring the hay.
That'd be awesome.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
That'd be awesome.
Cool, Wheeler Will. I'm glad
Thanks.
we did this. Cesar's been pretty excited about having you on. He's been telling me for months now we need to have you on. So I'm
Well,
glad
hey,
we
I
did.
appreciate you guys. I appreciate it very much. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Your family's history is synonymous in the state of Arizona, and catching cows, man. Like, I'm glad you come on with us.
Thank you guys.
Yep. All right. Thank you.